Welcome to The Feast Life, where we empower you, the modern homeschool mom, to create a life and homeschool you love, one founded on faith, family, freedom, and fun. I'm your host, Julie Ross, creator of the award-winning homeschool curriculum, A Gentle Feast, and a certified Christian life coach. For more information on today's episode and to access my free gift for you, check out thefeastlife.me. Charlotte Mason once said, "Life should be all living, not a mere tedious passing of time." So on this show, we seek to savor the feast of life. Girl, grab your favorite beverage and pull up a chair. You are welcome at this table. What if the behavior that drives you crazy in your child is actually a sign of future leadership? In this life-giving conversation, I'm joined by parenting educator and coach Wendy Snyder of Fresh Start Families to talk about raising strong-willed children with connection, respect, and joy. Wendy shares her rock-bottom parenting moment with her daughter became the catalyst for a completely different way of leading her family, one that honors both firmness and kindness. Whether you're deep in toddler tantrums, navigating teen pushback, or just exhausted from the mental load of homeschooling and parenting, this episode will meet you right where you are and remind you that there's a more peaceful and joyful way forward. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome to the Feast Life podcast. I'm your host, Julie Ross, and I'm here today with Wendy Snyder from Fresh Start Families. Hello, Wendy. Thank you for joining us.
Julie, hello. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thanks for coming on. I had the pleasure of meeting you in real life, and you are just as joyful and radiant in person as you come across online. I was like, I
Thank
would
you.
love for you to come on and encourage my moms and dive into some parenting things, which it's really hard to separate homeschooling from parenting because it all goes together, and it's really hard to separate the life that you want to build from yourself from parenting. It all ties in together. And so I talk a lot about parenting on this podcast, and I feel like you're the perfect person to talk into some of the struggles that parents often have. But before we dive into all the questions I have, tell a little bit. I love for you to give some background to people who may not be familiar with you and your work. Like, how did you become like a parenting life coach? Because that seems very daunting to want to dive into that. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey first.
Yes, it was daunting. Oh my goodness, it's been a long decade to create this career, but I stumbled upon it. I never, when I was a kid, I never set out to do this
Right.
in my career. I was actually in a corporate career. I was doing marketing and sales for the action sports industry here in Southern California. But it is actually cool because when I look back and I look at the dots that God connected, I did always work with children, like besides my stint in like my marketing sales career there for a little bit after college. I consistently worked with kids from the time I was 14. So I was a springboard diving coach, and then I was a nanny in college, and then I had my own diving program here in San Diego. And then I did go into marketing and sales for a while, but it's cool because now that I'm back to being a parenting coach, really at the heart of what I do is I'm a child advocate. That's what I say. But when someone asks me what I do, I say I'm a positive parenting educator and family life coach. But it's just cool because now every year that I get older, I see the dots that were connected through the way God has used my
Yeah.
gifts and my passions in life. So I stumbled upon this really when I hit kind of rock bottom as a mom. I got blessed with a very strong-willed little girl. Her name is Stella. She's now 17 years old and just the light of my life.
What?
But she came into this world with a bang. So, emergency C-section, traumatic, absent birth. Thank God we're both here and alive and we made it. But we joke that she just didn't want to come out of that soft, warm space, that tummy. And thank God she did. And she made it. She really did have to fight her way into this world. And we could feel this strength about her from baby years. But it was okay, cool, Stella. We could just feel the strength. But it wasn't until she turned about 3, I decided to leave my corporate career and let go of my nanny I loved so much. She was like an angel. And once I was home with Stella full time, that's when things really went dark. And all of a sudden, within a few weeks, she was in timeouts 50 times a day. And if I would say right, she would go left. If I was like, hey, be gentle with the dog, she would pull the dog's tail harder. And I just really started to feel like I was miserable as a mom. I had just had my second child who had colic, just like my first baby. So the baby years in my home were really stressful. And I just wanted this toddler little girl to not be so difficult and defiant and disobedient. And I was just working at the time with a hand-me-down parenting toolkit. And so on one hand, I wanted to feel connected and connected to this little girl and empowered as a mom and really feel confident when I laid my head down on my pillow at night. But really, inside, I was feeling really discouraged. I was full of shame. I was thinking to myself, I should be enjoying this. This is such a gift to be able to stay home with my kids. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my girl? And
I think
there were
those are
days when I
questions a
just,
lot of people ask.
yeah, they
And
are.
yeah.
And if you saw me in the grocery store, how you doing? I was in the best shape of my life from bouncing this colicky baby every day. Like my biceps were amazing, and I was outside with the jogging stroller as much as possible so he would not cry and keep my little wild child entertained, my 3-year-old. But if you saw me, you'd ask me how am I, and I was like, "Oh, I'm fine." I might say I'm a little tired, but really inside, I was really exhausted and angry. I was frustrated and I was just really feeling stuck. So thank God I discovered positive parenting. I got invited to a free class at my daughter's preschool. And I walked in there and started to learn these firm and kind connection based strategies that were just so different than the inherited hand me down tactics that I had been using. And that's really when the light started to come back to my day. And really, she started to have really visible change the way she was responding, everything from going to bed to putting her shoes on to sitting still at the table, right? It's always been a lot with Stelly. Anyone who has the gift of raising a strong willed child knows that. But at the time, I was getting books handed to me that were like, here's how you break a strong-willed child's will. Here's like a air quotes Christian book that'll teach you how to use a switch on your child, and
Mm.
you just smack them with this little stick until they submit. And it just never felt right in my heart. And thank God I had the invitation to learn a new way. So she started to change. And really, what was the most important thing, Julie, is that I started to change. And before long, I really started to see not only Stella in a different light and who she is and how I could work with her and how I could work with myself because I started to see where I was part of the dance. But I
Mm.
really started to see the world differently. And I started to see where my nervous system had been conditioned in fear and with force growing up in an autocratic home and where I had the power to lead my family forward into positive change and that it all started with me. And so that's when I went on to found Fresh Start Family. I decided I wanted to be an online teacher after years of teaching in person in San Diego. And I just wanted to preach this message from the mountaintop, so to speak, so everyone, no matter how small of a town you lived in, could access this education backed in positive psychology. We cite the root of Dr. Rudolf Dreikurs, the work of Dr. Rudolf Dreikurs quite often.
Okay.
He was a
Yeah.
renowned child psychologist. And I just wanted people to have access to this information. So that's when I founded Fresh Start Family, started the podcast, the Fresh Start Family Show, and here we are. About 7 years later, we've helped thousands and thousands of parents upgrade their family legacy and learn how they can be the one who takes their family from stressed and frazzled to peaceful and empowered.
I love that so much. I love that it grew out of necessity for you and your own family and you seeking answers. I think like the world is changing because of moms willing to go, I don't
True.
want to keep perpetuating the system that's broken and I want to forge a different path. And so it's the moms who are in the trenches going, this isn't okay anymore. And I want something different for my family and willing to go find answers and do the work. And then people like you who are blessing other parents with that is just, it's just incredible. So thank you for the work that you're doing. And so let's dive in here to some of the things that you brought up in your story and kind of unpack these for people. So one of the things that you mentioned is strong-willed. Charlotte Mason was a Victorian educational philosopher. That's what my homeschool curriculum is built on. And she actually says it means a child is weak-willed because if you're strong-willed, you have learned the skill to make your will bend to what it ought to do, not what it feels like doing. And so you actually are learning to not have a temper tantrum in the grocery store or what the situation might be, or to do the lesson that you might not feel like doing today because it's the right thing, right? But as parents, we can help them strengthen that mental muscle of what they're choosing. But overall, the strong will, we're used to hearing it. I'm just clarifying a little bit for my listeners who might think
Hmm.
of it the
Yeah.
opposite way now, because for years it was if your child's strong-willed, that means they are choosing to do what feels good, what they want to do, and not necessarily what as a parent might want them to do. So you mentioned that your child had this kind of strong will, and often the teaching is, how can we break this? And
Yeah.
I read on your blog, or I've listened to some podcasts where you said that being a strong-willed child doesn't mean they're broken. It means they're incredibly wired. So can you explain a little bit about
Um,
the terminology here, just to make sure we're all thinking about the same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is my perspective, right? And I think my perspective is built on not just theory and understanding of positive parenting, education, and positive psychology and all the things, but it's based on my experience, right? Like I've been able to put it, not just teach these concepts and these understandings of what a strong will blesses the world with, but I've been able to mentor a strong-willed child now for almost 15 years, right? So I've seen these things play out in real life. Stella actually just reached her like dream that she's been working on for 2 years to play Division 1 beach volleyball in college. So she just
No
came of
way,
age
that's
about, yeah,
amazing.
about 3 weeks ago. And
Congratulations.
so she'll be attending a school that's number 9 in the nation for beach volleyball.
Oh my gosh, that's so
And
fun.
it's insane. It's like a needle in a haystack type of accomplishment. And that's the power of a strong willed child when they're mentored with respect and dignity
Yes.
and support. But if we go back to something you mentioned, Julie, of it is really interesting to hear. Did you say Charlotte Mason is her name, right? Her, again, her opinion
Yeah,
of that
yeah.
it means a weak will. It's what I see in these children are they are our next generation of leaders when they are mentored again appropriately with respect. And what I always saw in Stella was that she really listened. She went for what she went for what she wanted. She wasn't shy to speak up. She used her voice. She advocated for what she believed in. And these are kids that are very allergic to hypocrisy. So they are often the ones in the family that raise the red flag. And to us, that might look like a tantrum over something. But a lot of times, that's a red flag to give us an awareness around how we either have hypocrisy in the home, where we might be telling a kid to calm down while we're yelling at them, and strong-willed kids will not, you put enough fear and force on them, which
Mhm.
is like punishment, threats, raising your voice, intimidation, all that kind of stuff. Or the other side of that is other side of externals controls is bribery and rewards. You put enough of that on them, and sure, you can get them to budge. But most of them, by the time they're teenagers, if there's not an authentic model of respect that is based in true power, where a child has developed the ability to respect their parents, not because they're scared of them or scared of a consequence, but because they truly look up to them. A lot of times these kids just go off into rebellion. And so it is, I see these kids as angels. I see them as world changers because that was my story. Stella, if it wasn't for the meltdowns and the difficulty that she was having at that time, especially, she really peaked in her difficulty from the ages of, I'd say, 3 to 7, probably 3 to 6 is when it was like the worst. I would never have changed. I
Mm.
would have gone on living with blind spots. I would have gone on living with so much hypocrisy. The people that bring you to your knees the most and put you to the test, so to speak, so you can practice things like patience, love, humbleness, compassion, those things don't get fine tuned. And you can't claim that you are that kind of person if you've never been given the opportunity to be that kind of person.
Yeah.
So, learning to work with a child who, if they believe that it's a good idea to wear sandals and you're going scootering, like to nourish in a child the ability to understand, like, your voice is important and it matters, and also, here's the boundaries of our family. Here's the rules. Here's why we wear closed-toed shoes when we scooter. That's an art, and that is a beautiful opportunity to develop your ability to parent and lead your family with true power. Because if it wasn't for Stella, I would have gone on really having blind spots on and not knowing that I didn't actually have true power in my life when someone challenged me. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So strong, when it comes to a strong will, yeah, they really do go for what they want. They have high levels of sensitivity. They have giant justice buttons. That means if there's equality is off, or they're seeing where something is unfair, this is why I
Right.
say
Yeah.
they're allergic to hypocrisy. They will raise the red flag. And if you see that only as like defiance, or you had mentioned that they're doing something because it feels good and what they want, we get to change our perspective and say, they're actually just like all human beings trying to get their needs met. And the base psychology we teach here at Fresh Start Family is there's a need to, the four biggest needs are the need to belong, the need to feel powerful, the need to feel valuable, and the need to feel unconditionally loved and to also give love. I always add safety in there. But for strong willed kids, the need to feel powerful is it rules. It's so big. And once you learn that these kids are not just misbehaving because they're disobedient, selfish, naughty, self centered, that type of thing, they're doing it to get their needs met. And we come in and we either meet them with the same type of behavior, which often just looks like overpowering, or we teach them, hey, let me help you understand how to feel powerful in a healthy way. Not by me. If you're arguing with me and I match you right where you are, it's essentially teaching them the same, like how to, that
Yeah.
is a way to feel powerful. So
Yeah, no, that makes
that's kind
complete
of
sense.
my thoughts on that. Yeah.
I love the word you use, mentor. And I think
Yeah.
that is such a beautiful way to use that because it's not the overpowering. It's to me, I see a mentor like walking alongside me, guiding me. We're all on our own little hero's journey, right? And your kids are obviously gifted and called, and God has brought them here with certain gifts and traits, right? And then we're mentoring them. Okay, here's probably a better way to use that need that you have to have your voice heard. And how do we do
Yeah.
that in a way that is, and it can be very nuanced though, because it's, I just want a formula. Can you give me the formula that like will make my kids be perfect and do everything I say and their whole lives will
Yeah.
be wonderful because I followed this formula? And we both know that's not possible. So what step can the parent take when they go, "Oh, okay, I have a child like this. I know exactly what you're talking about. I would like to not match with them. I know that's not working, but I have no idea where to start."
Yeah. Always in the beginning, you start with the way you see the world, which is what we call paradigm shifting, right? So Stephen Covey in his book, Habits of Highly Successful People, talks about how the world is not as it is, but instead how we have been conditioned to see it. So it really starts, if you've got a strong-willed kid, to be willing and able to start seeing them in a new light, in a different light. That's what I touched on, the whole, most people are thinking this kid is disobedient, naughty, selfish, all that kind of stuff. We start to see them as a future leader in training, right? So the paradigm starts to change. We start to understand the deeper needs underneath. And then one of the biggest things I like to teach people in the beginning is really to take their blinders off on the hypocrisy, which I mentioned. And I'm going to get to strategy here in a minute, but these are precursors.
Yes,
It's my
that's things
daughter's picking
different.
out her
Right.
college.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Stella's picking out her college classes right now, and the first 2 years of college pretty much are prerequisites, right? At least the
Oh, yeah.
first year. She might study business, but the first year she's doing a lot of prereqs, like that include other things. But really starting to see where hypocrisy is present, where you're modeling the exact same thing that you're asking your children to do. Or many times, Julie, it's actually not quite the exact same thing. It's just a little different. But if we can take the blinders off and stop justifying the behavior and see that we're just contributing and matching it. So strong-willed kids, any kid that's in one of the categories of misbehavior we teach is power struggle misbehavior. And what we know about these kids is they have a mistaken belief that in order to feel powerful, I must overpower others because that's what's been modeled to me. So we build our awareness around that. We take off the blinders. We start to be able to humbly walk forward and see where we're contributing to the dance, where we're teaching our child the exact things that we don't want them to do, and then justifying it in the name of we have the authority as a parent. So once you do that, then you can get into strategy. And in our world, strategy looks like we have just a lot of little formulas. Like, for example, I guess I call them little, they're big, and even each one in itself takes a bit of mentorship and coaching and support to understand how to apply and do. But one of them, it's inside what we call our Firm and Kind Parenting Blueprint. You can Google that, very easy to find. But it's just a 4-step process that helps a parent set a firm limit, teach their child the why behind that firm limit. And a lot of times this is for when there are patterns. So most of the things that are driving us craziest as parents, it's a pattern. So whether it's bedtime every night or every time, like the hour before you end homeschool, or like a lot of us, you could see the pattern.
Hmm.
And so that's an opportunity to come in a calm time, create a conversation of education with your child so they are able to see the value in the rule. So this again is helping you shift out of the my way or the highway.
Right.
You do what you're told because I said so. And it's more like, hey, great. I love that you're a challenger. I love that you buck up against a system when you feel like it's unjust. I want to nurture that in you. And at the very same time, this is the firm boundary in our home. When we have disagreements, we use our words, not our hands. And then you make sure you're modeling that
Yeah,
because,
right.
again, one of the biggest places of hypocrisy. But that's an example of an agreement. You make an agreement with a child, you help them understand why the rule benefits them, which we mentor parents on how to do. And then once life starts to happen again and your kid is not perfect, they're going to push back because that's what kids do. They're learning, they learn through mistakes. Then instead of responding with a threat or overpowering, you respond with empathy. You just come in with, hey, I get it. It makes sense why you want to stay at the park. You love this park. I want to stay here too. It's a gorgeous day. Then you move to what we call really engaging their critical thinking skills, which is allowing them to restate the agreement and what did we agree upon earlier when before we left for the park today or Saturday morning at our family meeting. We give them the opportunity to engage their critical thinking skills and answer. Strong-willed kids love to feel powerful, so
Mm.
they love to be steering their own ship. They love to know the answer. And then we move into what we call empowerment prompting, which is offering choices. So do you want to leave the park now or do you want 5 more minutes? Up to you. Do you want to run to the car fast like a cheetah, or do you want to hold my hand and we can walk slow like a sloth and take deep breaths on our way to regulate our nervous system? Like I mean, we teach a million different choices here,
Yeah.
but that little formula, so to speak, 4-step firm and kind parenting blueprint, that's an example of strategy. But
Yeah.
that strategy we see day in and day out, it won't work if you still hold a outdated limiting belief paradigm around who your child is
Mm.
and think that you need to either break their will or change who they are in order to find peace in your day and your relationship with them.
No, that's such a good point, and I'm glad you distinguished because I think most parents we just skip to the strategy.
Yeah, you're right.
We don't want it because that's hard. Changing your thinking is not an easy thing to do, especially when it was ingrained in you as a child, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
some of us, I think, had that concept where we were probably strong-willed very much ourselves
Yeah.
and had to conform in many different ways. And then as adults are trying to heal and learn, what do I actually think? I wasn't allowed to have a thought. And then giving thinking differently about our kids. It's a whole process of that. Do you,
Yeah.
other than just like what you're telling me right now, are there any, I know I'm talking about strategy again, but
That's okay.
for how to retrain your mind to think different? Other,
Yeah.
obviously your programs and things like that, but like how can I start to see this different when I've been in this frame of mind for so long?
Yeah. Julie, I think my mind goes to the nervous system reconditioning, right? Jumping to conclusions when we
Mhm.
are having knee-jerk reactions, where we are acting in ways that mimic how we were raised when we swore we wouldn't repeat the patterns. The awareness and compassion around, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Our nervous systems are conditioned the first 2 decades of their life, and they really soak up the tone of our homes, right? And our parents did the best that they could with the tools that they had, but they didn't have these same tools. And so when it came to mistakes, the tone or the temperature of our homes in autocratic homes, which just means it was my way or the highway, you don't question authority, and if you do, there'll be a price to pay, whether that was with corporal punishment or isolation, humiliation, shame. What's wrong with you? You should know better. But what happens is we're like little sponges and we just soak that up. So that becomes comfortable. So it's very comfortable to be a little bit more of a correctional officer as a parent versus a teacher or a coach or a mentor, right? Like, so then I think compassion is my answer
Yeah.
here because it makes sense why. And I think I see my students as soon as they start to build their compassion for themselves, which
Yes.
really a lot of our work, the healing happens through feeling. So we drop our students into opportunities for them to get into feeling and learn how to actually allow an emotion to come and go without judging it or stopping it. And that's what we find starts to recondition the nervous system because when you're doing things a new way, so say, for example, if you have a kid that's you're like, okay, come in from the backyard. It's time to sit down and start our afternoon homeschool again. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
In that moment, what's familiar to us
Mm.
is the first 18 years of our life, which is hell no. You
Yeah.
don't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
If you do, there's going to be a price to pay. And then trigger fear. I'm failing. What's wrong with me? I should be able to get control of this kid. I
Or
can't
I'm
let
doing
someone
something
step
wrong.
on
Maybe if
me.
the lesson was more fun, they'd want to come in.
Yes, what's right, all of it. But again, that's what we heard growing up. What's wrong with you? How dare you hit your sister? I've told you 17 times. Like, why can't you just be easier? What is wrong with you? And so it's no wonder why we have that kind of attack, so to speak. And so just the awareness of, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I was just conditioned to really respond to fear, that becomes, just as we learned from Kate Northrup, that becomes the thermostat, so to speak. And so we get to be the adults that realize, oh, we have the power to change that. It just starts by giving ourselves compassion versus judging ourselves. So, Julie, it took me 7 years to stop yelling.
Wow.
7 years.
Wow.
Even longer to stop slamming doors. Like I've written an article called The Night I Left Bruises. You
Wow.
can Google it. It's okay to not change overnight. What matters more
Yeah.
is that you listen to your intuition and you don't turn away, especially if you're feeling a divine call to upgrade and to bring more peace into your home and to really take those blinders off and see there's nothing wrong with you and you don't have to keep going in this way where you feel like you have to control your kids or make them feel worse in order to make them behave better. That's one of the biggest things behind
Mhm.
punishment is like we really were again conditioned to believe that's what will make a kid behave better tomorrow if we just scare them enough or make them feel really bad about what they've done. And so many of us start to get the hits of something's off here. This
Yeah.
doesn't feel right. And that's the most important thing to listen to. And as soon as you do that and just remind yourself every day, okay, I swore I wasn't going to yell today, or I swore I wasn't going to threaten the timeout or to take away the iPad. And it's 7:56 a.m. I've already done it. You start to signal safety. I'm safe. I am a good mom. I'm just learning. I'm growing. I'm a generational cycle breaker. Like this
Mm.
is just part of it that really starts to help. And then seeing mistakes as opportunities to learn. And what we find, Julie, is the more we're able to do that with ourselves, then naturally we're able to do it with our children. Because the truth is, the harder you are on yourself, like when you're
Yes.
really good at
100%.
that, the harder you are on your kids.
100%.
So it goes hand in hand. If you find yourself judging other people, there's a
Mhm.
good chance you judge yourself pretty hard. So
Oh,
it's all interconnected, and that's where my mind goes with that.
no, that makes complete sense. And for the mom who is okay, I'm trying to change. I
Mhm.
know I'm aware. I want to break this pattern and break this cycle. I want to have that connection with my kid. But I don't really know what else to do. You mentioned kind of the boundaries and the firm but kind and
Yeah.
giving them choices and those kind of things. And again, that strategy builds upon what you're teaching on changing the mindset. But I tried that and that didn't work. And then 5 seconds later, I'm yelling again. What do the parent need to do in that moment when they feel like they're They tried, but they failed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. A good point because a lot of people will say that exact phrase. I tried that and it doesn't work. And really, what's happening is you probably just don't have a coach. So, like, I'm just going to, so again, we have, I think we're up to 150 lessons in our membership library. Like, we have an insane amount of teaching. We have an insane amount of strategies. The one I gave you, that 4-step process that we teach in the Firm and Kind Parenting Blueprint, it's like one of, I would guess, I don't know, I'm going to say like maybe 40 recipes that we teach, right? Like strategies. So we're just using this one today. And what I find is that when people come to us for coaching, we do coaching every week, and they'll say, Wendy, this isn't working, right? Oh, help me. What's going on here? And we'll realize, oh, you just skipped the empathy part. You
Mm,
did great. You made the agreement. Let me help you fine tune the agreement because a lot of times people who are again, if you're raised in an autocratic home, agreements are just compliance statements. You're like, okay, you're going to go into Target and you're not going to beg for candy. Do you
mm.
understand the agreement? It's not an agreement. An agreement is like, hey, let's work as a team to get in and out of Target
Yeah.
peacefully. And I want to help you understand why I say no to the red food dye candy that's perfectly put at your eye level. So tonight when you go to bed, you can sleep really sound. So tomorrow you can climb the monkey bars and like finally get all the way across like you wanted to because you've had a full night's rest. Let me educate you,
Mm,
child, on why we have such strong boundaries. So can we make an agreement, right? But a lot of people, they'll just be like, I made the agreement. And
yeah.
really, they're just spouting off compliance statements at their kids. And again, strong-willed kids are going to resist that because they don't have any power in it.
Mm.
And then they'll be like, or another example is they'll just be like, okay, we had the agreement, and then the kids started pushing back, and I was like, we've talked about this, our agreement, and they skip over the empathy. And that will just blow it up. It won't work. So little fine tuning stuff
What do you
like
mean by,
that
you give me an example of what you mean by empathy in that situation?
in that situation. So if a kid starts pushing back and begging for the candy and the Target, I would first off, signal safety to my nervous system that it is safe to be a human mom who takes 20 seconds to get down on their eye level, look them right in the eye, and say, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
No wonder you want that. I know you had that at Jeffrey's birthday party and you loved it, didn't you? No wonder you want it. And what was our agreement that we just talked about in the car? You remember? That's empathy, and then rolling into restating the agreement. And then, okay, then it goes to choices, which is, so do you want to hop in my arms and help me put the credit card in? Or do you want me to put you in the basket while you wait for me? You choose which one. It's up to you. But what I'm saying is, a lot of people, when they go to roll out a strategy, they just need support implementing it in
Yes.
the accurate way. Because what I find a lot is people think that they're doing positive parenting, but they're actually not, right? A lot of people think positive parenting is like asking your kid really nicely to do something 10 times.
Or you blow up. Yes.
And then that's exactly what happens when
Yeah.
people aren't well coached because then they blow up and then
Yep.
they have no ability to understand that the blowing up is teaching their children exactly what they don't want to teach, which modeling, since 99% of what kids learn is caught, not taught, that is the entire thing. I just
Yeah.
wrote the chapter in my book on modeling, and it was like, I could make the whole book on modeling.
Yeah,
So,
for
yeah,
sure.
so a lot of people think they're doing it and they're not. So, you just got to fine tune it and you got to slow down to ask yourself, okay, A, do I have a good coach? Do I understand this concept? And am I actually doing it in
Hmm.
a way that is engaging my kids' critical thinking skills, using connection, which often looks like empathy? And you also have to look at your patterns, right? If you're, what I find with a lot of autocratic parents who are healing from that upbringing and trying to do it differently with their kids, they'll swing to permissiveness
Yes.
because they just don't want to repeat the same
Hmm.
harm, but they
Yep.
don't know how yet.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. I'm going to ask them nicely 9 times and then blow up. There's a lot of that. But then
Mhm.
there's a lot of just letting things
Things go.
go.
Yep.
And then they never come back and
Yep.
teach.
Yep.
And then that creates a pattern.
Yep.
And then there's like a lack of confidence. So there's all these kind of little patterns that once you start to understand how to slow down and look at situations afterwards as not that didn't work, but I wonder what I could do to tweak that a little bit so it works next
Hmm.
time. I
Yeah.
wonder where I got off track. I wonder where we lost connection. Because if you're with strong-willed kids specifically, if you're keeping the connection high, which is like going to be messages like, hey, you make sense to me.
Yeah.
You're not crazy. You're not in trouble. And you're still sticking to the boundary. And you're doing it with a sense of empowerment, which is like sharing the power, so to speak, versus being like, do it or else.
Yeah.
Those are things that are going to lift the behavior. So again, it's filling the needs and it's filling the relationship. So rules plus relationship equals respect.
Mm.
Rules minus relationship equals rebellion. So those are the big ones. Relationship. So if you're like, for example, like if you're getting like you're homeschooling, you're pouring your heart into homeschooling your children, you're making healthy meals, and then you're choosing something where you, let's for example, say choose to hurt and harm them when they make a mistake, that's going to rob the relationship. It's going to like we teach our students relationship drainers or bucket tippers or emotional bank accounts withdraws.
Mm.
That's an example of a blind spot of that erodes trust in a relationship. So little things like that, once we start to help a family realize, oh, I can compassionately discipline where I don't have to hurt and harm my kid, and then I'm not eroding the trust, the relationship stays steady and strong. And then think strategies start to work more. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? Yeah.
What about they maybe have blown up and they need to look at, okay, I need to tweak some of these strategies. I need to see, okay, where am I perpetuating this pattern? Did I miss a step? Can I word things different? Those kind of things. But what else can they do in that moment to help repair the relationship? Because you're saying that is such an
Oh, yeah.
important key when they feel like I blew it.
I love repair. Repair is one of my favorite topics. I haven't written that chapter yet, but I can't wait to. Repair, I believe, I think that our kids learn more from watching us be imperfect and
Yes,
how we clean it up than
100%.
they ever will learn by us getting it all right. And so, man, for me, one of my favorite things I've learned from my kids, especially my Stella, is the superpower of humility. And Mother Teresa teaches us about how humility has the power to change the world. It's been honestly, it was hard for years, but now I really find joy in figuring out, oh, once I've flared up, acted out of a trigger, right? Handled something in a way that I later regret, to be able to come back and just say, hey, so I want to circle back to that because you didn't deserve to be talked to like that. You never deserve to be talked to like that. Here's what was happening for me. Here's what I'm moving through. Here's what I learned. Here's the emotion that I was processing. And I really, if I could go back, what I would want to do is step to the side and really give myself some time in nature or have taken a walk or just taken a moment to help my nervous system regulate before I responded. But you do not deserve to be treated like that. And what we teach here, Julie, is what we call makeup. So this is actually part of the compassionate discipline toolkit. It's what we would put under the logical consequences umbrella that
Okay.
we teach our kids to do when they make a mistake, but we teach them by going first. And let me see if I can grab my folder real quick. Still haven't fully organized this yet, but in this folder, I have a collection of like 10 years of, no, Stella's 17. So I guess this is 15 years of a collection of all the things that we teach. But this is
That's so
just an
cool.
example of all the makeups that we've done. And for your homeschool moms, oh my gosh, makeups are like the best because you're at home with your kids. And
Yes, we
this
have a
is really
lot of
something.
opportunity to learn this skill.
Yeah, but this is an example. So I'll just start with the ones that like Stella did for me. I don't have any makeups in here because mine were always like more physical. So I always like to give Stella foot rubs with lavender lotion if I had lost my cool and done something I regret. Or like now at 17, I'll often take her to go get a juice, her
I
love
was gonna
language
say
nowadays. Yeah,
Starbucks.
bingo. Starbucks, press juicery. And she just loves that. But there's a million ways that you can do it without spending money. But it's basically a makeup is an act of service that communicates not just I'm sorry, but hey, I want to take time out of my day to do something that I feel like would fill your heart up to make amends, to repair the relationship and to show you that I really care and also we always add in what are we doing to change, right? Yeah. So anyways, I did it for a while with Stella, the modeling, the makeups, and then before long, guess what? They start modeling it back, right? So this is one
Oh,
from her. She probably did it like
cute.
8 years old. I am sorry. I love you. Here's another. She would just do a lot of notes for me. This is one from her brother when
Oh, that's so
he was
precious that
probably
you
three
have all
years old.
those. Oh my gosh.
And it says to Stella, love Taryn. And it's just a stick drawing of her and her brother, him and his sister, and then a monster truck because he put those on everything. This is a more elaborate one that she did to Daddy. To Dad, love Stella. Sorry, I was very mean to you. I love you, Dada. But this only happens once you're modeling it to your kids. And
Yep.
then now at 17 and 14, like my kiddos are just very fluent in this. And so our students from all over the world, they know that mistakes don't make you bad. They just make you human. And the most important thing is that you take action to not repeat them, right? It doesn't mean that you'll never repeat them because that's, as we talked about earlier, that's not how human behavior
Yep.
changes. It takes a
Right.
while, but it just means that you're taking action, right? So if I had yelled at my daughter, which I did for a long time, I would let her know, hey, I've scheduled a session with my coach and we're going to talk about this because I'm not just going to brush this under a rug. Like this matters to me and you don't
Mhm.
deserve to be talked to like that.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Those pictures are just adorable. I love that you saved all those.
Oh,
But it's true.
and
It's not a you must go in your room and you must say you're sorry or you must draw me a picture to tell me you're sorry. Like it's a genuine heart thing, but they see that from you modeling
yeah.
it first, which I think is so key. And so, yeah, some of my best memories with my kids were repairs and things that
Oh,
oh wow. Let's go to let's go to Starbucks and we'll chit chat kind of thing, or I'll paint your nails.
thank God for Starbucks.
Those kind of things.
Yeah.
I love, so you used a couple words that, like I said about Charlotte Mason, the philosophy that we use. She uses a concept called authority and docility. Authority, she means it differently because this is late
Okay.
1800s than we're using the word today as, but more of being confident in yourself and what
Yeah.
you're doing. But docility, humbleness, the being willing to,
Yeah.
I messed that up. I don't know. Can you forgive me with your children? You know, that you have to have the both the confidence and the humbleness. I like to reframe it because we don't use those words in the same context today. But then she also talks about the importance of logical consequences, not arbitrary rewards or arbitrary punishments, but the logical consequences. And you're saying like this, that's what that repair is. It's a, it makes sense, right? It's a lot,
It
it's what
is.
you do
Yeah.
as humans when you have a rupture in a relationship, you repair it.
Many do, not all. But yes, that's what,
It would be
yeah.
beneficial if we did. How's that?
I wish we all, but most humans were not taught. Most humans are taught
Yes.
the forced apology is the way of the world. And
Mhm.
it is so ineffective.
Okay. So can you tell me why? Is that I know why, but for everyone, like
Yeah, yeah.
why are forced apologies
So
ineffective?
because they do nothing for the person on the other side. They are all for the person who has done harm. So think about it. So if I was 15 minutes late to this, Julie, and I came in hot and I was like, oh my gosh, Julie, I'm so sorry. Like traffic was so bad. What would you say?
Oh, it's okay. No big
Yeah.
deal.
Okay, cool. Let's do our interview.
Yeah.
It's like you gain nothing. There is no responsibility taken on my part. There's nothing. But if I come into you and I'm like, Julie, my gosh, thank you for your grace with me. I realize I am 15 minutes late, and I want you to know that I take full responsibility. I pushed it too long at the house this morning, and I want to buy you a Starbucks. I'm going to email it to you to make up for this because thank you. I know you are a busy woman and you like your time is valuable to me. And also, I am working on my time management skills, but thank you today for your grace. It just is a totally different feeling,
100%.
right? Yeah. And this is what happens with kids too, is like again, you have to model it for them to learn it.
Mhm.
But sorries really don't mean much. I love watching the world, and I don't do it with judgment. I do it out of more curiosity. But just the
Mhm.
other day
Target's a
I
great
live right
place to
next,
learn all kinds of
I
things.
know. I live right next to Target. It's the best thing ever. And I was waiting in line to do a return, and there was a sweet mama with her kids, like more of a baby and then like a 2-year-old, and they were like barefoot for some reason. Hey, we all know.
Yeah.
Sometimes just throw them in. And the one was like stomping in the cart, and he accidentally stepped on his little brother's foot, which was barefoot. And his mom, mom of the world, she just did whatever, only thing she knew how. And she was like, "Oh, you hurt him." And she's, "You say sorry right now." And and now just some more context, there was a lot in the cart, so
Yeah.
it was a little squished, right? And
Yeah.
so there was no seeking to understand, there was no empathy, there was no anything. There was just like, "You say sorry to him right now." And he was like, "No." He said something like, "No." And then she's like, got in his face, "You say sorry now, or I'm sure it was like, or you're not going to get any iPad time." I don't know what she said to him. But then he's going, "Fine." He goes, "I'm sorry. I am so sorry." He must have been like 3 or 4 for him to be able to say that all. But it was just so clear that there was no learning happening here. He was doing what he was air quotes told, but there's no effective behavior change there. There's no helping him understand how he can make a different choice tomorrow.
The poor kid probably didn't
Ineffective.
have a choice. It sounds there was no room for his feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it wasn't
It's like,
purposeful or mean.
yeah. So forced apologies are just so easily replaceable. So when my kids were little, Stella was a big pusher. So she turned into a very prominent drummer, very prominent athlete.
I love
So again, we were able to see that her pushing was not her just being a defiant maniac, but it was she really had a lot of kinesthetic
mm,
needs. But man, was she a pusher and a all the things. And
very
so I
disciplined. Yeah.
learned as time went on to address children at the park, and I would say, "Oh," and I'd walk up and I'd say, hey, little guy, thank you for your patience with her. She is learning how to be more gentle and keep her hands to herself, use her words." And then I would look to Stella and say, "Hey, can you make sure he's okay?" And then let him know that you are going to keep your hands to yourself. And then I would teach her to say, "Thank you for your grace or for forgiving me." And it's, yes, you're assuming someone is going to forgive you, but
Right.
that's the way the world I want to live in.
Mm,
Right. So instead of, "Oh, go say you're sorry right now," which is the cultural conditioning thing to do, you now start teaching a kid, "Hey, here's how you take responsibility of your mistake without shame and
mhm,
punishment and humiliation, and also how you genuinely check on someone and then have an education on how to do it differently tomorrow." And
mm.
then I would take her home and we'd work on how to respect other people's spaces and why she wasn't broken for being a touchy feely kid, how
Yeah.
that was going to serve her really well one day, which it has. And and is a big word we use here. And she will, and I
Yeah.
will never give up on her. Learn how to get what she wants without using her hands.
But I love it too because you're modeling compassion and empathy for somebody else. If you just
Mm-hmm.
go up and she just went up to the kid and said, "Yeah, I'm sorry." One, that's not really teaching her a lot of skills, like you're saying about how to use your hands and all that. But by modeling, go see if they're okay. There are
Yeah.
consequences when we do make a mistake. It's not, "Oh, it's no big deal that you're hurt or just move on." But it's okay. You still have to be responsible for the consequence of the mistake. That person is now hurt.
Yeah.
How can you check on someone? How can you learn to be compassionate? So that to me is a whole, like if the world can learn that skill rather than just learning to
Isn't
say
that
you're sorry when
awesome?
you don't feel like it, that's the skill we all need to know how to do is to have compassion
Yeah.
and empathy for people.
And what a wild talk about a nervous system response of like, "Oh, whoa, that's so uncomfortable." But just that one little example of that
Right.
life skill, you, if you try this, if you go try this, your nervous system is gonna go off because people around you you're gonna be like, danger,
Yes.
all they want is for you to force your kid to say, "I'm sorry." And it's just a cultural conditioning. It's all it is. And it literally feels like you're going to die when you do it for the
Mhm.
first time, and you resist the urge to just do what's always been done. And then as you do it more and more, and now that I'm 15 years later and I've got young adults,
Yeah.
or they pretty much are young adults at 14 and 17, you see how beautiful the life skill becomes. But in the beginning, it is very uncomfortable because, as we know, Julie, the nervous system will always choose a comfortable hell over an uncomfortable heaven, right? So, like, what the forced topology will be like, your body will be like, it'll feel again, the bear is chasing you. You're going to die if you don't just say to this kid, you say sorry right now. And
Yeah.
instead, you just get to signal safety. I know this is uncomfortable. This is new. And I am safe to do things in a new way. A lot of times at the park, especially, it's like strangers. You're never going to see them again.
Or Target.
So why not try something new and risk being judged or risk not doing it perfectly?
Or even in your own house. I feel like with homeschooling and siblings being around each other all day is a very perfect
Oh,
opportunity
yeah.
for you to model this skill and to teach them how to check on each other because they're going to get hurt. You're going to hurt each other. We're in close quarters and we're humans and we get on each other's nerves. And so it's okay. Modeling that, even in the comfortable, not comfortableness, but somewhat more comfortable of your own home, teaching that skill might be a good way to start and ease into it too. So this
It's
has been
true.
such a rich conversation. I could talk to you forever. One last question. Is that cool? Okay.
Yes.
So you talk a lot about finding joy in parenting. And so I would love to end our call if you could speak for a moment to the mom who is burnout, exhausted, is carrying such a mental load of educating their kids, keeping their household somewhat in order, making sure everybody's alive at the end of the day, and they
Yeah.
feel so far from joy. What would you like to tell them?
Two things. One, get yourself out in nature as much as possible. Do your homeschooling in the backyard. Let your kids sit in trees if you can, feel the breeze and the clouds above you and like the sound of the birds. Like, we know that can be one of the most easiest ways to regulate your nervous system, access the most beautiful, God-given resource for nervous system regulation. So nature to help you find more joy. And then I would say just start playing around with how you can find these like mini moments of connection with your kids to tap into that joy, which is the original reason why we all had children. And I would probably say homeschool too, right? Like, I know you guys have a lot of reasons that you homeschool, but we want to be with our kids. We want to find those moments of joy. So start playing around with like, how many times today can you get on your kids' eye level and look right in their eyes as you tell them, I love you, or
Mhm.
thank you for getting that project done, or thank you for sitting still for that last half hour of class. Like, I know that was a lot, but like, really looking in their eyes. I find that looking in my children's eyes is like this crazy dopamine hit for me of joy, because it
Mm.
just reminds me like, oh my God, these are my beautiful kids. Like, these are my kiddos. But we're spinning a lot, right? And we may think we're quick eye contact, but there's something about physical touch, putting
Yes.
your hand on their shoulder, looking in their eyes to remind you, oh yeah, I have an incredible, unique human soul that I get the honor of raising and teaching and mentoring. And even if it's 10 seconds, 5 seconds, I think it will help you build more joy into your day. So go try that out. Shoot me
No,
a
I love
DM or
that.
how it
Those are
goes.
two great things and things I actually talk about a lot too.
Good.
Yes, love being outside and then just pausing in the midst of the chaos and
Mhm.
finding that peace. And yeah, I love that physical touch and that connection. That's such a great tip. So, where can parents find you if they want more help and more guidance on this topic? And I know your book's coming out, but that's going to be wow. Maybe.
It is going to be a while. I know. May 2026, which is just so fun. It's going to be here before we know it. Yeah. So first off, come find us on the Fresh Start Family Show, our podcast. We have so many incredible experts and guests that are just really fun to listen to. And then I'd say, since we're talking about strong-willed kids today, Julie, I would love to gift your listeners a free learning bundle all around how to thrive with strong-willed kids. So I go over some of my favorite secrets that help you get back to that thriving state, and they can learn more at freshstartfamilyonline.com/power bundle. It comes with a free 1 hour workshop that's
Oh, awesome.
interactive, so you can ask questions. And I think it'll change your life. So come find me there and then
Yes, that is
look
so
for the book,
generous and
Fresh Start
kind
Your
of you.
Family.
And we will put that in the show notes. So thank you so much. Yeah, I know that'll be something that will be very helpful. So thank you so much for sharing your time and wisdom with us and your joy. I appreciate it.
Julie, thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
All right, thanks for listening to today's episode. Let's dive in with some key takeaways. Number one, strong-willed children aren't broken, they're differently wired. Wendy reframes the idea of a strong-willed child as a potential world changer. These kids are highly sensitive, justice-driven, and deeply motivated by a need to feel powerful. When mentored with dignity and respect, their strength becomes their greatest asset. Number two, start with a paradigm shift, not a parenting script. Before jumping to strategy, Wendy encourages parents to change how they see their children and themselves. This inner work, shifting beliefs, healing patterns, and breaking cycles, is what makes connection-based parenting effective. Number three, discipline doesn't require punishment. The Firm and Kind Parenting Blueprint gives parents a powerful 4-step strategy that blends boundaries with connection. But it only works when backed by a relationship, empathy, and consistent modeling, not control or fear. Number four, repair is more powerful than perfection. Kids don't need flawless parents. They need humble ones. Wendy shares how intentional repair, through actions, words, and even heartfelt makeup gestures, can strengthen trust and teach your child the lifelong skill of relational responsibility. And number five, joy lives in the mini moments. Burnout is real, but joy can still be found. Wendy offers practical encouragement. Go step outside. Make eye contact with your kids. Offer a gentle touch, and remember the sacredness of this journey. Small moments of presence can restore delight in your days. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Make sure to check out the show notes for the free offer that Wendy mentioned, and thank you all for listening. Hey there, Julie Ross here. I just wanted to say thank you for listening to today's episode. If you like this show, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a positive review in iTunes. This really does help people learn about the podcast. And each month I will pick a winner to receive a free gift. Don't forget to check out all the free resources we created for you at thefeastlife.me. Thank you.